Phil Twyford.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. I want to add some comments to the debate that we've had so far about the enhanced search powers for immigration officers. What the bill does, and one of its primary effects, is it gives search powers to immigration officers so that they can search an employer's premises, talk to people present to identify offending, search for unlawful workers, check documents and ensure that migrant workers are complying with the Act. And, you know, I want to take at face value the statements that have been made by members opposite, particularly Jonathan Young and the Minister, in saying that that they are genuinely committed with this bill to putting in place a mechanism to address the exploitation of migrant workers. And we can certainly agree on a couple of things that Jonathan Young said, and one was that I think migrant labour is essential to the prosperity of our country and to the functioning of our economy, and secondly that the harmful negative effects of exploitation of migrant labour, not only for reason that people's human rights are being breached, but also because it has the harmful effect of undercutting other good employers and undercutting the wages and conditions of other workers in the workforce. And we see evidence of plenty of that principle operating today. You know, we've had a huge increase in student migrants who are allowed to work under current rules, and large numbers of them are working for minimum wage rates, and that has had the effect, according to many observers now, of driving down pay rates in those industries, particularly thinking about, in Auckland, the fast food joints and the service stations are now, you know, by and large, you know, many of those are staffed now by student migrants getting paid minimum wage rates. So I want to come back to the Minister's statement at the beginning of this particular part of the debate, where he said that in response to Labor's concerns, for example, about the enhanced search powers being given to immigration officers instead of Labor inspectors, that he said he was satisfied because this is an immigration amendment bill and that Labor inspectors have no power to investigate immigration offences. Well, that's an entirely circular assertion. It doesn't take us anywhere. And the proposition that we are putting up here is that if the government was genuine, and I'm happy to accept that it is, about trying to eliminate exploitation, then it would be much better policy to actually give those enhanced powers to Labor Inspectorate. And I was thinking as I was listening to the last few contributions about experiences that I had as a young man as an organiser with what was then the Northern Hotel, Hospital and Restaurant Workers Union, which morphed over the years into what is now the Service and Food Workers Union. And it came across many cases, actually, of the exploitation of migrant labour. And I'm thinking in particular of one case, a restaurant, where there were about 20 migrant workers, many of them unlawful in terms of the rules attached to their visas, working in a restaurant, sleeping upstairs. The employer held their passports, and there was what was then a vast sum, tens and tens of thousands of dollars in unpaid wages that they were due. Now, those workers were reluctant to report their exploitation to the authorities, but they were willing to talk to a union because they understood that the union was did not have the powers of the state and was not there with a view to catching them out about immigration offences. They were willing to come to the union, and as a result of that, we successfully busted that operation and were able to get those workers not only the thousands and tens of thousands of dollars in unpaid wages, but we were also able to give them the legal advocacy and support that got their immigration status regularised. Now, that's kind of the opposite, Mr. Speaker. That is the opposite of the kind of mechanism that's being proposed in this bill, where beefed up powers of compliance are being given to immigration officers. And I think that it's just common sense to realise that workers are not going to feel comfortable. And many of us, we know from first-hand experience as members of Parliament that people who come to our electorate offices seeking support to help navigate their way through the immigration system and stay on the right side of the law are often incredibly vulnerable. They're absolutely powerless, and their options are often very limited. And to think that they would go and report exploitation in the workplace to an immigration officer who has the power to essentially have them apprehended and in some cases booted out of the country, I just think that's it's really laughing in the face of common sense. So I really would like to hear more from the Minister about why he thinks that this kind of mechanism will make a difference. And I want to come back to the point that actually a former member of this House, Darian Fenton, made in relation to this bill, that not only would labour inspectors be better able to deliver on what this bill, on the intent of this bill, but actually the Labour Inspectorate has to be properly resourced in order for this to happen. And I can't help thinking that in this case the government is kind of hobbled by its kind of ideological preference for not having an organised and strong workforce that is capable of asserting its rights, and that prefers then to go down the line of beefing up immigration compliance and enforcement rather than putting in place the machinery to actually ensure that exploitation is driven out of our workplaces.
Mr. Chair. The Honourable Michael